Hi there everybody, how you guys doing? Been having a little bit of trouble with my internet, but I'm hoping that this works anyhow. After the emails I've been sending out the last couple of weeks, where we've been talking about friendships and your daughter and choosing first of all, looking at your own friendships and the friendships in your life and what that looks like, because we know that often your daughter is going to be mirroring what's going on in your life, whether you like it or not. And then looking at what really constitutes a good friendship and how to help your daughter learn about what a good friendship is. And then today what we talked about is what do you do when a friendship is no longer a friendship, right? When your daughter is no longer, what's going on is no longer supporting her to be her best self, which is something that happens a lot when we get into those teen years. Dynamics shift, girls change, the way they interact with each other changes, and a lot of times they need some help and some guidance. And what I want you to be aware of, first of all, is that while we all want to see our daughter as the amazing, wonderful person that she is, sometimes she may be actually on the offensive side. So just remember that your daughter could also be the mean person in the scenario, in the situation, and you want to notice and call her out on that as well. And not just, be looking into, well, is anybody hurting hers or anybody making her feel bad, but also how is she interacting with her friends, right? What kind of friend is she being to her friends? You want to bring it all into that. But what we're going to focus about in the next couple of minutes, and we're just going to touch on it. Maybe I'll do a whole longer training about this at another time, especially when my internet connection is doing better. But what do you do when you notice that your daughter's friend dynamics is not so great? So first of all, I want you to remember what you were like when you were a teen and when somebody tried to tell you what to do and who to be friends with, right? The first thing that you were like is, don't tell me who to be friends with. And we've talked about this a lot, but I'm going to keep reminding you is that when you come and try to tell your teenager what to do, the automatic response is always going to be to do the exact opposite of what it is that you're asking, no matter how rational, true, accurate, great advice it is that you're giving. It's just their automatic response. And so the first thing you want to avoid is giving any kind of advice unless you're asked, right? Or unless you have asked permission to give that advice and have been, it's been said that it's okay for you to share. This doesn't say don't ever say anything to your daughter, but if you really want her to listen to what you have to say, if you want to have a meaningful conversation, you need to say, is it okay if I share with you what I think? Trust me, it'll make a huge difference in your relationship and in the way that you're communicating together. So the first thing that I would suggest is you want to, first of all, when you see something, right, that is concerning to you, if you, again, say, I noticed something, is it okay if I share it with you? Again, when you ask that question, most of the time you're going to get a yes. If you do get a no, then it's okay to put it off for another time. Trust me, you're going to try many times to have a conversation with your teen as life goes on, with your teenager, where they're going to say, I don't want to talk about it. You're going to have to try a lot of times until you get that yes. But remember that when you do get the yes, it'll make a difference. Again, when you see something, ask if you can share something and point out objectively. Now, I know that often we think that we're being objective, and the reason that I'm bringing this up is because often when we think that we're being objective, we're not actually being objective at all. We're saying something, right? So I'll use the example I use all the time just because it's the easiest, right? So a messy room. You walk into your daughter's room and it's a complete mess. And when you describe it as a mess, that's not actually objective, okay? Even though it's messy. That's not an objective description. An objective description of what might be going on is, for example, there are clothes all over the floor. That is an objective description. Messy is a judgment. Okay, can you see the difference there? And so I want you to think the same way when you're pointing out something that you see. What is the most objective way that you can describe what it is that you're seeing? Okay, so I noticed that Rachel said something to you in a tone that you could, again, because it is a judgment, you want to point it out, that seemed to me to be very critical. Okay, so here she can say, oh, I didn't think it was critical, or you didn't understand correctly, allowing her to explain. Or, find a way what I'm trying to say is find a way to describe what you've seen in a way that is not going to trigger her. Okay, so either be objective, right? Or make it clear that this is your perception of how you saw it and you wanted to know if you saw it correctly, right? So she has an opportunity to say, no, you saw it wrong, or to explain it differently. That's number one. That's one way of bringing up the conversation. Another way, which is kind of a roundabout way and needs to be authentic, but authentically sharing what is going on with you. So if you find yourself, again, because I was saying often what's going on in your daughter's life is going to mirror what's going on in yours. So if you find her in a relationship that's not so healthy, or where things are going on where you're a little concerned, take a look at what's going on in your own relationships. And if you have something, okay, this may not be the case at all, but if you do have something going on that is truly the same, then what you want to be doing, sorry about that. That's what happens when somebody's calling when you're doing a Facebook Live. And so what you want to do is just authentically share what's going on for you and how you're being challenged, but kind of in a by the way kind of thing. You could even ask her advice if you're in the right place and it's the right situation, you know, your dynamic with your daughter, but just, you know, you can kind of mention that X is going on with somebody that you're dealing with and it's been really frustrating. That's all. Okay, what it'll do is it'll let her see that you actually understand what's going on for her, because you may be facing a similar situation, and will open up an opportunity for you guys to speak. Again, don't do this if it's not really true and authentic. They've got great radars for our authenticity and what's true. But this is another way to go about it. Avoid, I said this at the beginning, I'm going to say it again, avoid telling her not to hang out with certain people. It's pretty much a guarantee that she will. That you ask her and you are pointing out that what you're seeing, you want to know if she really feels good about it, if it's really good for her, right? It's not about you, it's not about your worry, it's not about your concerns, it's not about what's coming up for you, but you want to know if it's actually good for her. If she says yes, it's good for her, take it as it is. Most of the time she is going to say that it's good for her, right? Even if it's not, but what you're doing is you're planting a seed, and you're allowing her later when she walks out of the room and she's not being triggered by you wanting to know what's going on with her. Because, by the way, most of the time if her friend situation is not good, she knows it already, right? Our girls and our boys are so much smarter than we often give them credit. They know that they're in a bad situation, right? But what you're doing is you're planting a seed saying, I can see what's going on, and that you're not the only one who sees it, okay? Because often our girls are going to feel very alone in that situation. So an example is a client of mine that I work with. I still work with her, and she was in a very tricky friend situation for a very long time. And these are girls that she grew up with from the beginning of elementary school through middle school, so they've been together for a long time. But she's finally growing up, and her self-esteem is strengthening, and she's strengthening. And what she's realizing through that process is that the friend group that she's created for herself isn't supportive of who she is, right? It's not supportive of who she wants to be. They put her down often. They assume that they can push her around, which is what they used to always be able to do. But it took quite a long process before I was able to say to her, are you actually happy with these friends? Do they make you happy when you're around them most of the time? Right? And ask a direct question like that, where she was then able to admit honestly that the answer was no. Right? And we've been working on a process of really saying goodbye to some of those friends. As difficult as it is, it helps that she's about to go into high school. And so things are going to change naturally anyhow. But you kind of want to slowly open that door, right? Did she not know that she was in a situation that wasn't so great? You know what? Maybe at the beginning, not so much, because she was used to it. She was used to them putting her down. She was used to the kind of behaviors that they were having around her that were not supportive of her, you know, being herself. I mean, so much so that they convinced her to break up with her boyfriend because they didn't like him. Right? And one of the reasons they didn't like him was because he was actually strengthening her. Right? Now she can see that clearly. She couldn't see that clearly at the beginning. But my regular questions are just about things that I was noticing, things that were going on, bringing it up slowly in little bits and kind of opening that door for her to start seeing things by herself and being willing to open up and share. And that's what I want you to do on this topic and on every topic, is know that it's not about opening up one conversation, right? It's not about trying once and, well, I didn't succeed and they didn't want to listen to me and then it's over. No, you want to kind of open it up slowly but surely, just a little bit at a time, until your daughter is ready to hear both for herself and for you. Remember, if she's in a tricky friend situation, it's not always for her easy for her to get out of there, and she may not even know how to, right? She may already be in a place where she's ready to move out, and maybe she's not, right? Maybe she's in there and she thinks everything's great, but these small questions and these objective descriptions of what it is that you're seeing are going to help her at least, again, plant that seed of waking it up. So I think I'm going to put together a training about this so we can talk more in depth and more clearly about steps that you can take and how you can have these conversations. If that's something that you're interested in, feel free to put a comment below. Have a great day, night, afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!